Welcome to the 3Haunted podcast, where we bring you all things horror, supernatural, folklore, mythology, and all things that go bump in the night.
What's up, everybody? This is your co-host, Ashley Lunar Goddess, Gorilla Girl filmmaker and horror-loving cinephile. I'm just your average podcast-producing badass.
I'm BJ Sewura, an aspiring paranormal musician who plays live for the dead because the living just doesn't want to hear me.
The Dead of Winter Horror Network and Nick Kane from the 508 Productions invite you to endure the most terrifying immersive experience in all of podcasting. Beneath the Red Umbrella, now available wherever you listen to podcasts. Beneath the Red Umbrella, when the snow falls, the killing season begins.
What's up, ghouls, gals, and all of my horror cinephiles out there? Today we have very special returning guest, Nazeeh motherfucking Tarsha. As you recall, Nazeeh is quite new to the horror film world, and we decided to initiate him into the best horror club around. Welcome to the show. Now, I had some other things put in there. We have Butterknife Baby, I had Baby Bat, but that's more of like a new goth. So I want, during this episode, for us to figure out what we're going to call you new to horror. Some things I've been playing with are like Rookie Reaper, Fledgling Fiend. Okay. There's going to be more.
Yeah. No,
I want us throughout the episode to vibe it out, see what we land on.
Okay, sure, yeah.
And welcome to the show, Nazeeh.
And welcome to the show. Thank you for having me.
Nazeeh, the Novice Nightmare.
Ooh, I kind of like that.
I love me some alliteration, so.
I mean, it kind of slaps. Just saying.
Nazeeh the Nightmare. But that almost makes it sound like you're licking your terrible twos. So.
Hey, look. It'll be my horror nickname, you know? Like, I need something.
Maybe you'll have like 5 of them, you know?
Sure.
Like boxers, they have like 10 different names.
We'll stick to the one that feels the best, though.
Yeah. I mean, it'll come to us.
It will.
I feel like there's something there. None of those quite scratched it. So there's going to be something. And it's just going to hit. It's going to slap. And then we're going to be like, aha.
Yeah. That's going to be great.
So we give you a list. After the last episode you were on, people think we just bring up things and we let it fall through the cracks. But that is not what we do. So we give you a list of horror movies that we thought you should watch, at least to start off with, as we ease you in to the horror world. And we started you with, people can't see, we have our Freddy sweaters on. By the way, love that you got a Freddy sweater.
I had to.
Love the spirit.
Look, I'm all in the spirit of whimsy and making sure that I make an entrance. And while you all can't see it, you know what? You can't see it, but you can hear this. Welcome to prime time, bitch.
Yeah.
There you go. So here you go. An auditory entrance for the listeners out there.
We wanted you to watch Nightmare on Elm Street Dream Warriors, but that's 3, so you watched all 3 just so that you could understand what was going on in Dream Warriors, which I love that. I love the dedication. You watched Candyman 1 and 2, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay. And then you also did Fright Night and 30 Days of Night, right?
Yes.
Did I miss any? Because I know you had a whole list beyond that. I don't know if you got to any more.
I don't think so. At least not off of this list. I've just seen other things by virtue of existing in this world since we last spoke. So like I saw, Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Fun.
There you go.
I ended up rewatching the Final Destinations.
Those are fun.
And yeah, no. And also for slight clarification, I actually saw Nightmare on Elm Streets 1 through 4.
Ooh.
So you saw what befell our beloved warriors.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I love that we can give you horror homework and you dive into it. And I know we were going to start you with the classics, but there was a message in between there where I was like, all right, pause the classics. I need you to watch 30 Days of Night, because you and I got into a discussion about the epic acting ability of Josh Hartnett. We might have almost broken up in that moment.
But we didn't.
But we did it.
We
got
persevered. We did it.
We got through it. We persevered. So BJ's like, what the hell?
If I may.
Yes, please do.
This has been one of the most stressful homework assignments in my fucking life since I graduated college.
Why?
So I mean, obviously, it's fun. I'm watching the things, but knowing that I have to sit here and like partially analytically discuss things, only partially, because at the end of the day, you know, we can vibe off of feelings. It doesn't have to get like deep into like, you know, a film critic's analysis into like, oh, let's talk about these themes and allegories and like, I know we don't have to go that deep, but it's still one of those things where I'm like, okay, hold on, I need to remember names and names and names, and oh my god, who are these people? And then I'm in a new movie now, and then it's like just keeping track. Just like, because it's like, you know, half the time when I'm watching a movie, there's a reason I'm a voice actor and not a camera actor. I have terrible memorizing, okay? But I was just like, you know, whenever I talk about movies, it's always just like, oh yeah, you know, like I'll know the main character's name and it's like, oh yeah, and then the girl got shot and then the guy did this and what, you know, it's like I use like the vague buddies, dudes kind of generalities when I speak about characters half the time, the CIA lady or this, but now it's just like, okay, let's see. There's Alice, there's Nancy, there's Tom, there's Kenny, there's this, there's that, you know, it's like just going forward.
Okay, so full disclosure, my dear friend. Most of the times, these movies are so old, we don't remember everything either. Google is my best friend, and we have been known. Now, our listeners get the benefit of editing. They get the benefit of, you know, the magic of Pro Tools that Ashley puts in there. They don't hear the, wait a minute, let's check Google really quickly, or let's ask the Google. And those awkward moments is we have to reference something. Now, sometimes I leave it in, but for the most part, I take those moments out where we're like, what the fuck was that character's name? And then we have to go Google it. Like, you don't have to memorize everything.
No, see, but here's the thing. I also like to try and be prepared. This is my fault as a professional.
That's not a fault. That's good.
And like, I don't think you all understand. Like, I am looking at a Word document that I put into my Gmail so I can see it on this computer here, and there is like a whole ass like little written like synopsis on 1, on 2, on 3, on 4, on Fright Night, and I'm just like, okay. Like, I need to remember what happened here, okay.
But, however, I want you on the next set to go in just to enjoy or not enjoy it. Don't stress yourself about analyzing. If you have to, rewatch it, because the reason we want to do this with you as well, or one of the reasons I should say, is because I want to know genuinely, someone who didn't grow up in that time period, what is your feeling when you're exposed to these? Right. Just from like a person, like a humanity aspect of, we have nostalgic feelings tied to these because we watched these when we were younger. So we may be wearing rose-colored lenses. Whereas someone who's not grown up with that specific film, when you go into it, it's like, what the fuck? Or, hey, that was really good. I just want to know genuinely, how does someone receive it outside of that time period?
And full disclosure, I don't start writing notes on my first watch. I do watch the thing, and then I go back and do like a skim through and write down my things to reference. I don't like because like you said, there is this element of you need to, you know, watch and just consume. It's not a matter of So you will have that for the most part. Because despite me having my notes, I can tell you I'm going to fuck it up.
But I do love that you want to be prepared and you respect the space enough to do that. So thank you.
Absolutely. And also, you know, it's a respect for you guys, but it's also a respect for the fandoms and the enthusiasts out there that, you know, have a sort of devotion to these various characters, films, IPs, whatever you want to, you know, call them. And it's like, yeah, no, I'm in a couple of fandoms here and there. Like, I get it. Like, if someone's excited and you hear like a person just kind of like, oh yeah, I was like, whatever, and then like there's like nothing like, okay, well, tell me why it was whatever. Like, express yourself. It's like, I come in here, and not just in here, but in general in my life. If you give me something because you like it enough that you want to share this thing, I want to receive it as openly as possible and give you my all. Now, if at the end I don't like it, I just don't like it. But at least I gave you an honest attempt and not just some like half-ass, like, okay, let me go ahead and put these up really quickly and put them on 2x speed on my side monitor while I browse Reddit or something,
Something tells me you've done that before. That was very precise.
That's what I do for college. Thank you.
Now, I want to go a little bit out of order just because I have a feeling, as the producer had in me, that we're going to take up more time talking about the Nightmare on Elm Street series.
Sure.
So, I want to go to the one-offs first and then work our way to the bigger series, if you guys are good with that.
Down to clown?
Absolutely.
Sweet. Let's jump in. We're going to time travel, but we're going to start modern and go back. So let's go with 30 Days of Night.
Okay.
How do you feel about that?
30 Days of Night is one of those horror movies that kind of reminds you that a horror movie can be cinematic. I feel like me coming into this space, for a lot of my experiences, horror has been defined as a sort of just either campy or not serious genre. And like as an actor, it feels like one of those things that you take that are career ruiners. And now what I mean by that is, obviously you have the people who have made it from the iconic films, but there was like an era in the mid-2000s to 2015 kind of time where it was just like gore slasher, doesn't matter who's that person. Oh, well, you're never going to see them again in anything. Obviously you have your standouts, and they have flourishing careers, and obviously there are always going to be exceptions to the rules, like looking at like Cabin in the Woods, which like fits in that like comedy horror kind of aspect. But coming back to 30 Days of Night, it puts you in that sort of gripping cinematic feel where it's just like, oh, like people don't have to treat the genre as campy. They can put their whole asses into acting the shit out of this script and it be something that's just, it's vampires, or it's a horror thing. It doesn't have to be the stereotypical like mid 2000s decade of over the top reactions, really cliched line reads. We know where this is going. This was a moment of kind of like emotional rawness, and also a brilliant take on vampires. It was a absolutely lovely, dark, just sort of like Eastern European-y kind of like foreign vibe to them. They looked scary, menacing, but not like cartoonish. Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, I think as a filmmaker, one of the appeals to horror that's always been there is that you don't need a top billing cast. You don't need to have an A-list actor attached to it for it to be successful. That's part of the formula that they show time and time and time again. Is it fun when they have someone? Sure. But is it necessary like it tends to be in other genres? Nah. Because people love I guess for me, the character, the A-list appeal is the horror itself. It's the vampire. It's the werewolf. It's the sub-genre that's being pitched at you so that the cast itself isn't as integral to it doing well. And so 30 Days a Night, obviously we have a pretty big cast of well-known people. We had Josh Hartnett, we had Ben Foster, we had Mark Boone Jr. They're all people that we know their face, we recognize their names. It's produced by Sam Raimi, who's a genius. And so it's just like, we have, yes, some of the other formulas that kind of belong more to the other genres, but it worked. Like you said, this film had so much heart. One, heartnut.
Ba-dum-ts.
I'll be here all night, guys. One, it's a horror movie that is based on a comic book, which, again, we weren't getting much of around that time. And so to take something that's based on a comic book and a comic book miniseries, and then to bring it onto the screen, give it some really good layering, right? Because it's not just like one moment in time that we're seeing. We're getting heavy layers from the story from the get-go when we are talking about Eben and Stella and their like estranged marriage, and the whole town's invested on they're gonna make it, right? They have to make it. And then him taking care of his brother and his grandma, you know, also part of this village. And it's like there's so much story you get, which you don't always get in a horror film.
Well, and it's the location too. It's just all of that. Just like, how do these people live in this area together? That adds to it, right? Just the isolation that's involved. It's just, that's what I was there for. I was like, ooh, and then it's going to be, that's the whole movie, 30 Days of Night. It's just going to be night the whole day. So there's no escaping. That was like the biggest draw for me initially.
Well, and they add real horror into this, you know, supernatural horror, because not only do you have the 30 Days of Night, but they also get hit with like the days of the blizzard. They're like, well, we'll use the blizzard. It's awful, but we'll use it to cover us from the vampires. And it's like, that is, one, that's amazing. They're going to use their weakness to be a strength. They're going to like, yes, go humanity. But also that's terrifying, right? They have everything going against them. The elements and, you know, the supernatural, and it just, they keep going and they keep trying.
And something that you pointed at that I think helps movies like this have that like extra oomph to it, which is a sort of external fight that's beyond just the monsters. You know, in this instance, it is the elements. You know, thinking of like 28 Days Later, for instance, like that one is like man versus man. You know, this is an instance of like, oh, it's not just about the creatures or zombies or vampires or whatever it may be. It's adding these extra things of like, okay, cool. Let us grip you with something that you as a viewer can attach to on a more relatable level, where if the fantastical draws you out, you can at least relate to this, you know, running out of food or supplies, or how do you make it from point A to point B without being seen? You know, it's like these sort of relatability factors, and that's what this sort of does. Like, sure, none of us, but majority of us don't know what it's like to just straight up live in, you know, a place that doesn't ever get daylight or sunlight or you know, whatever it may be for X period of time, or vice versa, where it's daylight all the time for like 6 months. But it is still something that, you know, like we're familiar with a daylight cycle. We can empathize with the idea of like, oh shit, what do I do if it never becomes day? Like, shit, you know?
Well, and the screenwriters really took what people rely on as like a saving grace. We just have to get through the night, right? The sun's going to come up. And instead it's like, oh shit, it's not coming up for 30 days. And, you know, if we could just get to help, there is no help because the last plane went out at the beginning of the film and there's no cars that are going to be able to get out. And it's just everything that in the, you know, standard vampire movie, people are like, well, we just need this. And it's like, there's no just, because there is no help coming. There is no sun coming up. There is nothing except the people you have with you. And even then, it just, I don't know, I thought it was phenomenal the way that they built that world, and they took that and made it this terrifying thing. Like you said, it's not just the supernatural, it's now the elements as well that you're working against. But it's also things that we don't think about, like the one fellow, see, I don't even know the names of some of these characters, and I've watched it so many times, the grandfather who has Alzheimer's. And they're trying to keep him quiet as he keeps having these episodes. And it's like, if you've ever been around a person who's having an Alzheimer's episode, they get loud, they get confused, they can get violent. And it's like, that's exactly what you don't want when you're trying to not be heard by these creatures that can hear anything. So it's terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and for me, what I loved about it is that it's not your typical. They're not trying to make the vampire sexy, and there's no reasoning with them either. It's just we came here to kill and eat, and that's what we're doing. We're not gonna. There's no conversation. We're just taking you out. That's what's gonna happen, and yeah, and I think for me, like on top of everything else, is just so full of grit and just that was the story. And so
I
it's
know.
like, how do we deal with this?
When it's not just kill and eat, it's also cover the tracks. They were going to explode the whole town at the end. So it's not even we hide and wait it out till they leave. They were going to ignite the oil, right, that runs under the town and completely blow up the town before they left to take on the next town. So it's just like there really is no way out other than fighting, right? There's no way out but through, and you better hope you can fight these guys.
Right. Yeah. Which, by the way, BJ, I know that there's at least a couple viewers that will probably take offense to the fact that you said they didn't try to make them sexy. It's like, this is their hear me outs, and you just offended them. How dare you?
I mean,
But there weren't any conversations about there wasn't any let me turn you, let me become part of me. There was none of that.
they weren't seductive vampires.
No, for sure. No, of course.
And
of
actually, their rule was do not turn any of them. And he got really mad when he found one of them. The lead alpha vampire got pissed when he found one of the townspeople that were turning. And he killed it. And he's just like, hey, I thought I said no new vampires. They're a group that had been together, like you said, Eastern European kind of looking vibes for a while. They've been hunting together for a while. There are no new vampires. They're not incorporating anybody into this. They're like you said, BJ, eat, kill, destroy the town. That's their process. So there's nothing seductive that they're doing. They may be sexy by nature, but they're not trying to seduce and turn. And ironically, I believe Dawn of the Dead, when we got the first fast vampire, was in 2004, 3 years prior to this. And 2007, we get 30 Days of Night with the first fast zombie was Dawn of the Dead in 2004, which was terrifying. And then 30 Days of Night came out in 2007 with the first terrifying fast vampire. We'd never seen a vampire kill and work this fast. Usually when they run, they're like, pew, 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 I'm not faster than Usain Bolt. And with these guys, I don't think anybody was expecting this, to the vampires to be this fast, because the first scene scared the shit out of me when the couple are in their kitchen about to eat, and the vampire shoots through the window, grabs a wife, drags her out the other window and under the house, and it is a matter of seconds. And it's just like, what the fuck just happened? We hadn't seen vampires not sexy, especially in the 2000s, not sexy, not this fast, and completely predatorial. And it was terrifying.
To go off of what you just said about they don't want to create new vampires. I was thinking about this when we talked about Midnight Mass, and if do you have to die to become an evil vampire, or do you get turned when you're alive and there's still remnants of you, and so you don't turn to feed right away? Or is it until you, Lost Boy rules, until you feed, are you just half vampire? That kind of thing, which is why I was thinking about Josh Hartnett, because he was able to fight. He didn't turn bad, right? He wasn't the rules for this. That was what I was kind of curious about. Are they killing these people and not turning them because maybe they'll do what Josh Hartnett did and fight back as a vampire? Or
So from what I could tell from the guy, I don't remember, was it Billy? Or no, it wasn't Billy. From what I could tell from the others who had gotten bitten, it was just getting bitten. But it takes time for it to spread into them, so they have a moment from when it takes over. Because when he ran into his friend and he was already turning and kind of chasing him, he was still confused when he first saw him. He was like still not sure what was going on. And then the vampire kind of kicked in all the way. So with Josh Hartnett, I feel like because he had just injected it, he had time. And it was going to be just not that long before it fully took over. It was just that window of infection to fully taking over. Because we saw that, I want to say, with a few characters where they got bitten, they started to turn, but there's that kind of window, and then they turn all the way. But I don't think death was required, not from what I could tell.
Yeah, it didn't seem like it.
Yeah.
Although some of them, I mean, I think one of them did die, right? And then came back? Or got bit, it really like bled out a lot and then changed. I don't know. It's hard to tell because it's so vicious.
It was very vicious, and I loved it because you guys know I love my vampire genre. I love my vampire movies, whether they're sexy or scary or whatever, but I feel like we don't get enough scary vampires. Right. And so 30 Days of Night, I'm in love with that movie because that is a scary fucking vampire. And like you said, Nazeeh, it was cinematically, it was just beautiful. It was a well-shot film. It was a well-made film. Every scene was absolutely beautiful.
And that's 30 Days of Night.
30 Days of Night. Now comparing 30 Days of Night vampire creatures to Fright Night, which was 1985. So that was almost 20 years before. So Fright Night was 19 years before 30 Days of Night. How'd you feel about Fright Night?
Fright Night was, I think, of all the movies I watched, the funnest. But, I mean, obviously, because it was kind of, comedy and it's, lighthearted while still having its own seriousness within it, between like Peter Vincent and just all the shenanigans and God, Ed, it had all of the elements of like the kind of like cheesy sort of like 80s tropes vibes, but also felt like it sort of honestly kind of felt like an early 2000s kind of film to me, where it like strikes a balance of being like, hey, here's an entertaining film where you can kind of have all your little elements, enjoy it, and it still like fits in the genre. But I did thoroughly enjoy it. This one had a sexy vampire.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Man, can he eat some fruit?
God, what was the actor's name? Chris Sarandon?
Oh my gosh, Chris Sarandon. Also the wonderful Jack Skellington.
Yeah, it was the man. Anytime he appeared on screen, you were like, oh, yeah, no, I you can bite me, honestly. Like, it's fine. Like,
yeah, of course, yeah.
Like,
what part?
Which side would you like here? And God, it was just so funny seeing like the hijinks go from one to the other of like, oh my God, what was the main character's name? Charlie?
Yep.
Yeah, like Charlie in the beginning being obsessed with Peter Vincent's show, and then all of a sudden noticing the stuff happening across and thinking he sees a murder, and then like, oh my God, this guy's a vampire. I need to tell somebody. Nobody's believing me. Shit. Okay, lock up the windows and doors and everything. Oh no, my mom invited him in. And then it's like, it was just like,
oh no.
It was, it was just like one terrible thing after another. He just could not catch a break.
Oh, no, my mom invited. And I just love that he's like, in fact, he not only does he get consent once, he gets it, like, he gets
forever.
Yeah, infinite consent, because he's like, in fact, I'm going to come over anytime I want. Mm-hmm. Of course, with your mother's permission. And she's like, yes, of course, anytime. I'm like, really? That was genius.
I laughed my ass off when, he's, it's like the initial confrontation in his own house in the beginning, and him being like, I could kill you right now. But, what do you say we just let bygones be bygones? And him, all of a sudden it's like Charlie's just like trying to fight back, and like he stabs him with a pencil and he leaves, and the next day the car's burned down. It's just like, fuck you. Like, how dare you?
For me, I was like, why not take the fucking deal? Like, he's literally like, dude, you just do your thing and I'll do mine, like the neighborly way, right? Like, just mind your business and on my mind, no harm, no foul.
Yeah,
And
just keep it on over the fence.
like, Charlie was a snitch bitch, okay? Because ultimately, he's the one that ran and told on him, called the cops, being a nosy neighbor. Jerry's just minding his business. And then even when Jerry's like, look, I'll just let you and your mom live. Just forget you saw me. Forget you know anything. And Charlie's like, let me stab you with my pencil. And Jerry does like a 3-whirl twirl. And it's just like, oh.
Oh man!
Or the charisma he has, and the way like he even messes. You have to have faith, and
You have to have faith for that to work, Mr. Vincent.
Just laughs at him in his face. Like, yeah, without that actor, you don't have that movie.
Don't. Chris made that.
You know what really upsets me? I mean, I guess I'm not upset because I got to enjoy it at the time that I watched it. But this very much kind of reminded me of Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire. You know, like, dude is like, there's a vampire across. Somebody please believe me. And nobody's believing. And then, like, all these just, like, shenanigans. And, obviously there's very obvious differences. But I'm just like, why would you ever watch Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire again when Fright Night is, like, right there? It is the superior, just vampire comedy, it's just a superior film.
I mean, it does have, and I will say this is where the 80s really nailed this shit, because they layer in the humor in such a nice way. It's like this finesse that's really hard to capture now. Sinners got it really well. They're able to layer in the comedy but still make it serious, because even in this film, like, the subject of bullying comes up. That's how he convinces Evil Ed to go with him, is to say, they'll never make fun of you again, they'll never hit you again, I'm here with you. And Ed takes his hand crying. Like, that's right. Not nothing. That's serious. And then, he's able to seduce Amy. She comes to him willingly, both times. A lot of people might say that he had her kind of under his spell in the nightclub, but he didn't. Because when he went to go, playfully bite at her, she turns her neck to him and then, like, lifts her collar and starts seducing him. Like, she is fully capable in that moment. She is in herself, but she's feeling him. Because at first, I think when he comes to her in the nightclub, Charlie is so distracted at the phone. Mr. Steal Your Girl literally comes up right next to Charlie and takes her. She is under his spell or hypnotism for a moment, his charm. But then it breaks when he pretends like he's going to bite her. And then it's fully her in that moment. She sees he's casting no reflection in the mirror as they're dancing, but she still goes to him. She still goes with him. And then when they're in the house later, awkward age difference aside, she's scared and, like, trying to come up with words to tell him she's scared, and he stops. He doesn't bite her. He stops and just kind of taps her lips and looks at her with this concern. Whether it's real or not, he still stopped in that moment. So it's still her choice at that moment to let him bite her. And it's like, God damn, that is a seductive vampire.
Yeah.
I would have gone with him.
Yeah.
And I just gotta say, Amy's the whole her transformation, her big mouth of teeth, like like the first time you ever see it, you're just like, oh my God. And for that to be like on the cover, right? Like that's what brought people in initially, just the view, just the vision of that. And then you discover that there's so much more to this movie than just the makeup.
That's practical effects. There's no CGI. Evil Ed's transformation after he's the wolf back into himself is insane and phenomenal. And by the way, I love that scene. That's probably one of my favorite scenes. Not the transformation, but when he jumps out of the bed and he's just like, and she left a note. Dinner's in the oven. Ah! And it's like, it just sticks his tongue out and hisses if Peter Vincent. And it's like, what the hell is this? But you can't help but love it.
The thing that I really love about these films is, and you know, it's a word that I very, very heavily use in my day to day, and it's whimsy. It is this, you know, understanding that you either A, don't have to take yourself fully seriously, or B, you can at least find room for play. And I think the fact that they allow themselves to enjoy this in their performances and just have these like really bizarre reads and just fun scenes, and you know, it's like part of me wishes that I could have been like a fly on the wall just to see like how much of it was like actors just literally feeling themselves and coming up with stuff on the spot, like this would be fun, versus like, you know, like, oh, it's written in, or the director's like, hey, I want you to do this, like this would be funny, you know. But you know, like I feel like we end up losing the plot a little bit in different periods of various genres, cinema lines, not even just horror, where it's like, you know, it's phases where like we go from really bizarre or fun and playful to all of a sudden, hey, everything is serious, grounded, cinematic, too much. And I feel like today we're slowly coming back up on the playful nature of things. Like not everything has to be this, you know, like 2.5, 3 hour long masterpiece and everyone has to just like act their hearts out. It's like, no, we can play. Like it's we don't have to force ourselves into this like seriousness. And again, this extends to all forms of media. You know, it's just like you can even find this in like cartoons and anime and video games, where it's like, oh, this was silly and now here we are super serious, and seeing things like Fright Night, like it is such a breath of fresh air being like, oh my God, yes, we can have fun. Like I don't have to sit here feeling like I'm digesting a 20-page essay on something. It's like, no, the guy just gave a funny read and I like that. I love this.
Well, you need the roller coaster of emotions for the heavy parts to hit harder.
Yes.
And so if done well, inserting the comedy, inserting the whimsy, inserting the playfulness helps not only offset but elevate when it is scary, when it is terrifying, like Amy's crazy ass mouth of teeth. And it's just, I don't know, it was, for me, that's why I think I love the 80s horror so much, is because they knew that formula. For a moment, you're right, horror just, it was intense all the way through, and then you just get exhausted watching some of these films. Mm-hmm. And so to see that humor get brought back in, it's like, wow, those punches hit harder because we've got some of that whimsy back in. And yeah, I will always, Fright Night's always going to be a top like vampire film for me.
Like I legitimately, like Fright Night is one of those where I could put on a yearly like October watch.
Yep.
Like it is fun. Like even if I've seen it 20 times, and like it's fun background noise in the very least,
Yes.
where I can like half pay attention and still like go on my laptop or, you know, just kind of be on my phone chilling on my couch. Like it is a feel good couch vibe that I think I'm gonna like put on my yearly rotation.
Yes.
It's a good one, and I've done this before, to watch outside with friends with a projector. Like, because you throw in the music with it too, and when Jerry walks in, that dude, you know, that when he's just menacing, but it's just this like this intense music. It just makes you like smile. You're just like, oh, this is so good. I love it so much.
Well, and he has, just like other movies we've seen, he has a sound that is attributed to just his character whenever he walks in a room. It's a sexy, jazzy, kind of smoky, but also a little scary vibe. It's a little dangerous. And it's like, that's Jerry Dandridge. You could be in the grocery store and hear that if you've watched Fright Night and be like, where's Jerry?
I want to do that. I just want to like have a Bluetooth speaker and just anytime I walk into a room where I never met anybody, just play that song.
Jerry's here.
Jerry's here.
Yeah, it's fun. I like it, and it will always be a favorite of mine. Evil Ed. I quote Evil Ed at least once a month You're so cool, Brewster.
One last thing I wanted to say about this is that if you do like Fright Night, there is another movie called The Burbs. And that movie, The Burbs, it has a very similar feel, very similar vibe. It's fun. Tom Hanks.
I love
It's
that
it's
movie.
a lot of it's a lot of fun. It's very Corey Feldman's in it. Like it's very much a neighbor. You know, we don't know if these neighbors are like murderers or what are these neighbors? They're crazy weird people, and basically all of the neighbors around the burbs, the suburbs, they're always they're trying to spy on them to see if these people are weird, but
Nosy
they are the
neighbors,
weird
man.
ones.
Nosy neighbors.
Nosy
If
neighbors again.
Charlie hadn't been a snitch, all would have been well. Jerry literally was preying on just hookers at that point. Hookers and fruit. He's a healthy hooker eater. And, like, let's be real, he was a healthy hooker eater. Charlie should have just left enough alone and all would have been fine. And do you think Amy's ever going to be right after that? I guarantee you
No,
she had sexy
their
Absolutely
vampire
guys
not.
break up.
with
Like
the ultimate seducer. And who's ever going to come back from that? I'd be looking for my Jerry from that point forward.
and that's Fright Night.
And that's Fright Night. Oh, man. So then that brings us to the sexy, the smoky voiced, the ultimate sweets to the sweet man himself, Candyman.
The Candyman.
Helen.
Okay, don't say it 3 more times.
I won't. Look, I'm not superstitious, but I'm a little stitious.
I'm a little stitious not to say that shit. Okay. Yeah. Like how for me, we've talked about this in other episodes. That is always going to be one of my top horror icons
Yes.
and just storylines. I think it is a romance film through and through, a love story, not a romance. And I love the character that they created. Now, I just learned something new rewatching it.
What's that?
And I call myself a horror fan.
Wow.
Uh-oh.
I know.
We're about to drop bombs right here.
Y'all know I love me some Clive Barker because I'm a Hellraiser gal. I did not know Candyman was inspired by and created by one of Clive Barker's short stories.
Oh.
Yeah, so apparently I don't read the credits when I watch a film, but I was rewatching it and I was actually showing it to Emma. She loves them, by the way, both of the films that we watched. We watched 1 and 2 as well. And it actually says executive producer Clive Barker. I'm like, oh, cool. Of course Clive's a part of this. And then it said inspired by Clive Barker's story. And I'm like, what? So I looked it up, and Clive has a collection, an anthology storybook called Books of Blood. And he has the legend of the Candyman. And so I just learned something new.
Neat.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'll have to get the book.
So what'd you think?
So, Candyman was the
Or watch
last.
how many times you say that.
Seaman was the. Is there a code word? Is this like the Scottish play? Like, do we have something that I can refer to it?
The B-Man? The Sweet Man?
The Sweet Man?
You can just say it.
At this point, I can't. I'm on a timer, and
You've already said it 3 times. Go ahead.
look, I don't want to like open this booth and suddenly, it's like
You're
well,
hooked.
this not only was this the finale. This was like my actual finale. Like I'm not looking to do that.
The ultimate finale.
The ultimate finale. No, so these 2 movies. So I only saw 1 and 2. And this was the last of all of these I've seen. So, I didn't know what I was coming into, and now that we're getting into horror icons and these characters that I obviously have seen left and right, whether I'm at conventions or I'm passing by a store in the mall or obviously Halloween and October and all this. I see it and I don't know anything about it. So this is like a pure, I don't know who this character is. I don't know anything about it.
I love
And-
that.
And especially after having gone straight through all the Nightmare on Elm Streets, I was shocked within the first, 2 minutes. So the first thing that I ended up taking note of was the opening and just the sort of overhead traffic shot and the score. The music on this movie floored me. And I know Philip Glass was the composer on this, and Philip Glass does phenomenal things. I know he was the composer on The Illusionist, which also happens to be one of my favorite movies growing up. Love me some Ed Norton, but we're not here to talk about him. And it was one of those things where I feel like surrounding a lot of these horror icons, you expect some level of camp or comedy or there's something. But this immediately cued me into the fact that oh, hold on, this is serious. This isn't a good time, feel good sort of icon. This is a sort of tragedy. This is a thriller, which is the immediate first thing that you get with the opening, just like I said, the sounds and the shots. And my feelings toward the second one is less than the first. The first one, I absolutely was completely taken in by. The acting was phenomenal. Obviously, Tony Todd, absolutely phenomenal in everything that he does. And beautiful, smoky, mysterious voice, alluring, brings you in. And like you said, it's funny because this ends up becoming this this sort of romance story, and it ended up making me realize just how many of the horror genres related theme is this idea of love lost and refound by the main antagonist, whether you're looking at even Fright Night, because, you have Amy, or looking at this.
Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Right. Or, this is a really silly example, but still fits, The Haunted Mansion.
Not wrong.
And, it does bring that idea of if you're eternal, you're bound to find somebody who looks like the person that you loved and lost. And, this is the snippet we're going to watch as a viewer. But the thing that really, really took me in about this, the first one in particular, obviously there is the racial, socioeconomic commentary. There is the romance thing on the side, which kind of becomes more of the prevalent thing. But I think the really, really compelling thing is that this was a horror film that was essentially just a thriller / a psychological thriller for a good part of it. And, it's I think, a movie is phenomenal when you can take one little aspect out of it and keep everything else intact and it still will hold up regardless. So if the Candyman, my next count, if you took out that fantastical element of this, eternal being, and you kept every other element of just these murders are happening, and what if you made it a human instead of, this being, you can legitimately just keep 95% of that movie intact and just do the little edit. That's what makes this extra phenomenal to me, is that it was so cinematic. Obviously, I know this kind of goes against what I just said in terms of me loving the whimsy and having those rooms for play. But sometimes, in this case, a film needs to just tell its story. And this was just, like I said in the beginning, a tragedy through and through, and kind of going through these motions. I've seen partial reviews for the second one, people, shitting on it and it being less than, et cetera, et cetera. And I will partially agree in saying that, yes, it is not the same as the first. The first one was a gripping, turn. But that being said, I didn't find the second one to be bad either, not in the same way that a lot of reviews found it. I think that the setting change was actually kind of cool and refreshing. It allowed for the Seaman to kind of meander in the environment in a very, very plausible and believable setting. And I think one of my gripes, I will say, from like first to second is I forget, was it Helen or Helena?
Helen.
It kind of like, it's just like, she's gone, that's it, and I get that, like, she exists in the setting of the first, but it kind of felt like we had like a successor kind of situation, or we had like like they exist as a form of entity, and we're just gonna forget about that in the second. And that I found was like just a little weird, but I'm like, you know what? In these horror movies, especially after having watched the Elm Streets, it was like, you know what? We're kind of flying by the seat of our pants. We're figuring out how we want to shape these plots, and at the end of the day, they kept the core of the character the same. And Tony delivered, again, an absolute stellar performance in that second. I did love the fleshed out backstory and actually seeing. Although one thing that the first movie did that I thought was really, really fun, which actually they did in Sinners, and I'm sure they do this in a lot of other movies too, but in the retelling of the tale, they have the sound cues going on in the background of him being like, tied down or held down and waxed and sawed and all this. And it's just like, sometimes just the audio alone and hearing the bone sawing and whatnot is enough. You don't need to see it. But having seen it in the second, it's still like, yeah, no, this, I got to see Tony's face, and boy, did he just really give it. Anyways, all that to say, I did thoroughly enjoy The Seamen.
I love that where they based the first one, the Cabrini Green development, is actually a real development in Chicago. And so they did base it in some reality. I love when horror films do that. They're going to give you some real horror mixed with that supernatural horror. So all of that urban renewal and urban planning taking over the Cabrini housing is real. Right. And the kind of the erasing of people that, are unsightly, that you don't want there, and that how that's tragic. And I love that they could have shied away from certain statements they were making and let them speak for themselves, but not go there because they don't want to upset people. But they didn't fear that in the first one. So, for example, when they talk about the girl who got killed at the Cabrini housing, and then Helen is investigating it, and all of these things are happening, the cops won't show up, and they kept emphasizing that. We called the cops, but they wouldn't come. And that's what they do. They won't come. And then Helen gets attacked. One assumes the little boy called the cops, and they show up. And Helen herself says it. It's sad. People can be murdered here. The cops won't come. They don't show up until a white woman gets attacked. Mm-hmm. And it's like, ooh. They could have just let it speak for itself, but they really wanted to make that point. And I liked that they weren't afraid to go there and make those points in the film and still retain the supernatural and this love story that's emerging. What I love with both films is that I think they do flow into each other well. Because in the first one, it's this idea of, is he real, is he not real? Is she being so caught up in this folklore and urban legend that she's researching and she's spoken to? People start to believe what they want to believe to satisfy the fear that they're feeling. And is she falling prey to that? We don't know, right? We're not sure at first. We don't really get that until he shows up halfway through in the garage. And even then, you're not quite sure. Because she's suddenly in the apartment at the Cabrini greenhouse. The dog's been decapitated. The baby's gone. And It's like, what the hell just happened? And they show her the video, and there's nothing there where he was, give me an exquisite kiss. And I'm like, bro, I would kiss you. Keep talking to me like that. Yes. Could you undo these ties first? But, like, it's just like, you still don't know. And I love that about that film. Now, by the time you get to the end and, you know, her husband has summoned her, you realize, okay, this is supernatural, right? There is a supernatural element at play, which is why then I think it ties perfectly to the second one, because now it's no longer a guessing game. This is supernatural. He is something that's a real creature. Yeah. And so now we're going to dive into that. And I like that they dove into that further in the second one. And he's a tragic villain. Super heartbreaking. Like, so heartbreaking to the point where I'm like, I get why you're doing it, bro. Don't stop.
Well, because you're like, you're kind of like on his side a little bit. You're like, it's the first time you're like, oh, you're I kind of rooting for you, kind of, even though you're doing some horrible things. Like, you started out like, it's yours, but also like, because that's a difference between, you know, Candyman and Freddy. You definitely aren't rooting for Freddy, but you definitely, I feel like you can root for Candyman. Now, for one thing I just wanted to say is that I love how when all this stuff happens, there's part of me when I first saw it was like, is this actually happening? Is this dog's head chopped off? Like, is this real, right? And that was one thing that I didn't like about the Smile movies, is that I was like, oh, I want it to be real, and then it's not. It's just like a cheat. They're just like, I feel cheated a little bit. Whereas this one, it's like, she doesn't remember it, but all this stuff did happen, and it made it real. And, you know, it wasn't just in her head. So that adds to it. I love that part of it. And it's so messed up. Like, for me, like, if I woke up just covered in blood and you're just like, what the hell just happened? That's fucking terrifying.
I do also love the consistency of what he says. They kept it in the first and they kept it in the second. He says, I am the writing on the wall, the whisper in the classroom. Without these things, I am nothing. So he is saying, I exist through the urban legends. And it's crazy, right? Because that's true. That's true with these creatures. Whether they're real or not, they exist only through the continued spread of the fear that their stories spread.
Right.
And so he's like, girl, you screwed me over. You got my believers to not believe. Now you're going to make it right. You're going to make them all believe again.
Well, and then you see an urban legend even when Helen goes down there with the candy and the freaking razor blade in the candy. Yep, the razor and the candy. Mm-hmm, which is great.
Okay, now that you watched the first one, I will say in the second one, he's definitely real. He's definitely murdering. The police catch it on camera, and the lieutenant, is like, what the hell did I just watch? I believe you. But in the first one, for me, there's still a question if he was real. And something that I really love, that I feel like viewers are torn on as well, is at the end of the film, she goes into the building and she sees the writing on the wall, and it says, it was always you, Helen. Now, a lot of people take that as it was my reincarnation, my love. You were always my reincarnated love. Whereas it could also mean it was always you doing this. It was never me. It was you. You taking the baby, you killing your friend, you killing the dog. And it happens during these blackout moments for the most part. And I know we see it when he kills her friend. But again, it's one of those things, is it like Fight Club, where like she's seeing a manifestation of what she's internalized.
Right, right.
And so is that what that means? It was always you, Helen. I don't know.
I think the only kill that would go against that is when she's in the chair strapped in, because he kills the doctor. I think unstrapped. And then exactly. So it's like, well, maybe that's the one that's like, okay, like it's Candyman.
But so, and I'm not saying I believe this. I don't know what I believe. I need to go back and view, now that this is like planted. It's like, oh, let me see if I believe it. But I feel like the easy escape in a lot of these is the oh my god, what's there's a term for it where it's like not the biased narrator, but like the oh my god, it's essentially words to the effect of just the biased narrator. It's like we're being shown and told the story through their eyes and how they see it, but we don't know how it actually played. Like if we saw like a CCTV kind of like, oh yeah, you know, because like I feel like there are those moments in like Fight Club also, right, where it's like, oh, this is very clearly a back and forth and blah blah blah, but then like you're shown the perspective and it's like, oh no, you're just a lunatic. So for all we know, like the actual thing was that doctor was fixing the strap and then just slipped the hand and bah, and then you know, it's like we don't know how it actually played out. So just a devil's advocate, like, yeah, you know,
Fair enough.
but
Absolutely.
you know, like but you know, then it does become this element of, well, do we want to use the second movie to justify everything of the first, or do we want to allow them to be, they're two separate things, and it's like, you know, she was the person the entire time, but also here's this movie where it is him, you know, like.
Well, I'm going to take it further for you because, spoiler, you haven't seen the most recent one. But the most recent one is a direct sequel to the first one. So it completely throws out or ignores 2 and 3. And it's just a direct sequel to the first, or a continuation of. I will say this. The first one, I would question now that I've seen the new one. Because the new one is a possession, a becoming of the Candyman, an embodiment of it. He still exists to an extent because we see him at the end. However, we learn more that it's not necessarily just one, right? And so, again, I'm trying not to spoil too much for you. I would watch it. It's fucking phenomenal.
Sure.
With that said, that then makes me look at the first one through a new lens. Because then it's like, could it be both? Could it be he was real, but she was still doing it under his influence? Because he kept trying to tell her that, be my victim, do this with me. Mm-hmm. And so at what point does she start doing it with him? And or because of him or his influence? And so, and then to be like, well, it was always you, Helen.
Yeah.
I just helped you. I don't know. Again, it's one of those things where it's kind of fun to think maybe both. And maybe it's not as romantic as we think it is, right? Like in terms of it was always you. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I love that.
And she created her own urban legend, in effect, by gaining her own kind of immortality. Because he didn't call his name, he called her name. And I think he only called it 3 times in the mirror. And then she showed up. So she's her own immortal urban legend, which is why I think it's okay she's not in the second one. Because technically at the end of the film, she rejected him. She killed him to an extent and then became her own lore.
Yeah, no, I dig it. Also, I looked it up. It's called the unreliable narrator, not the biased narrator.
That's it, the unreliable.
I was like, there's something.
Unreliable,
I was like, there's something. It's like it's in Dexter. It's like that's like half the
Right.
premise of that stupid show. I say stupid. I love it.
Don't say stupid.
No. I love it. But yeah, the unreliable narrator. There you go. That was gonna like destroy me. I was like, I'm gonna look this up really quick. This is gonna bother me.
And maybe it's somewhere in between.
Yeah.
It's maybe it's something in between. With her, I think with the second one, it's more straightforward. And other characters kind of validate that, right?
Yeah,
Because the policewoman sees that he's not actually killing the police officer in the footage. The guy's just like in the air dangling, and he's in the corner crying, and it's like, oh shit, I believe you. So it's a more straightforward in the
Yeah.
second one.
One of the things I did want to mention, though, in watching 1 and then 2 immediately, is, man, you notice when the director shifts, because it was just like I said, it wasn't a bad movie. I don't think that. I think the reviews are a little too harsh from what I saw. Although I did see plenty that were like, "Hey, 2 is a masterpiece compared to 3," and I'm like, I'll judge that later, but. For one, it was like, this is art. This is like the most. I mean, of the films that I myself have seen, this is like honestly like top 3, top 5 in terms of like just cinematic experiences. And then going into 2, it was like, what happened? This looks different. What is going on? I hate this. In comparison, it was still an enjoyable movie. I still liked it. But it was like, oh, okay, fine. Like, I don't care that Philip Glass was still the composer. It didn't hit the same with the cinematography not being there to juxtapose it.
Wasn't glowy and romantic.
I feel like the first one was trying to tell a story with commentary, and so it had a bit more heart, and it had a more serious undertone, but also that seductiveness, right? That the seducing of Helen, the breaking of Helen, but also the commentary of what's going on, finding the unknown, going into danger. She is actively going into dangerous situations because she has to know, and she has a story to tell. And with the second one, to me, I feel like they were trying to be more like pop culture mainstream,
Sure.
which is why I feel like they had so much of the New Orleans radio narrator kind of narrating through the story of like, hey, Mardi Gras, New Orleans, who's ready to get crunk? And it just felt like it was trying to be more mainstream, more pop culture, more hip. And I don't think the first one gave a fuck about being hip.
Right.
So
No, fair.
it's what it felt like to me. And it's still fun. It's not a bad film. But I think in part that's because of the acting, because you had Tony Todd still carrying his phenomenal smoky character. But you also had, is it Kelly Rowan playing Annie? And she is a really solid actress too. She's got a compelling face. She's able to emote very complex emotions. So they were good to watch. It just, what they were given wasn't great.
Right.
I think, too, the first one was more, who is he? What is this? Is this something? And the second one is, how do we get rid of this?
Right. The last thing that I remember I wanted to mention for this was, man, the detective on that second one pissed me off.
Oh, the man?
Yes. I was like, you are so annoying and terrible. I hate you. Get out of my movie. You are actively making this worse. It was too much for me.
Who's an asshole?
I was like, no, I don't need you here, man.
Although, how terrifying was that scene where this guy is just so scared and the detective forces him up to the mirror and starts saying it, and he's holding him in a chokehold. And could you imagine if you truly believed, which this guy did, that this exists, and you're being like face first in the mirror submitted as someone saying this to you, and it's like, oh God, that is terrifying.
I mean, it's not even that far-fetched to compare it to, like, you know, like a form of sort of shock therapy, you know, like someone who has a huge fear, and like, you know, it's like, oh, I'm scared of drowning, or I'm scared of heights, and like you just put someone into the water, or yeah, it's like that is a visceral like emotion.
When everyone that's been afraid up until this point and engages in it, like the kids in the classroom, they're doing it willingly, like, okay, I'm gonna do it, and they're like, okay, are you sure? But they're still there willing, and then this guy is being choke held in front of a mirror, and it's just like, and you know the cop will shoot you if you try and fight or run, so it's like you're literally die or die. That's awful. Oh, that just little nuggets of terrifying intensity that I just love to see. Because can you imagine as a writer, like writing that scene, like even that coming up in your head, like what would be something terrifying in this world that I could create in a moment?
Great scene. Great end to an asshole character.
Loved the end
it's one
to
of
that asshole character.
You know, like there are those moments where like, can you please just fuck him up? Just do the thing, man. Just get him out of my face. Thank you.
I'm gonna let you know, in the new one, I've never ever reacted to a movie so strongly where I am in a theater saying, literally, say his fucking name.
Oh, okay.
So
The new one was good. It's worth watching. For sure.
I've never had a movie do that to me where I am actively wanting the monster to come out.
All right. That was a Jordan Peele?
Yeah, Jordan Peele did it. To me, I think he did an amazing job. I feel a lot of people are like, oh man, it's so woke. And I'm like, well, did you watch the fucking first one? It is also about gentrification and racism. Like, did you call that one woke? It goes back to its roots.
Right. Oh, I'm looking forward to it. I want what I'm gonna. I'm putting the cart before the horse. But one of the times that we do this, if you will continue to have me on, is okay. That's fair. Well,
only if we continue to dress up in themes.
I mean, duh. Yes.
Yes.
Is doing one where I watch the remakes or like the modern day continuations.
Yeah.
Whether it's remakes, reboots, or just straight up continuation. I don't know if there are any that are just modern day continuation, but
I would love to do at some point a full breakdown of all of the movies within that series.
Yeah.
And I would love for you to watch 3, 4, or 3 and the new one.
I mean, look, you give me my homework assignment and I will accomplish it.
Yay, horror homework. It's not often that I call a horror icon a sexy character, but I feel like for me, he is one of them, as well as Pinhead and Jerry. Yeah.
There's a theme here.
The voice.
The voice, yeah.
The charisma. Be my victim. I'm like, yes. I've been waiting for you to ask me that. I will be your victim. You see what I did there?
Because of the bees.
And then I can call him my honeybee.
Shut up. God.
So that was the beautiful, the wonderful, rest in peace, Tony Todd. Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nightmare on Elm Street. This was a ride. Because...
That's what she said.
That she did indeed. Man, where do I start with this one? Okay.
From the top.
So, from the top. So, Freddy. Again, exposure to Freddy as a character throughout my life without ever having have seen this. I see the Family Guy clips. I see the just the constant jokes, the welcome to prime time, bitch. And like all of this stuff. And it's
I'm
like,
your boyfriend now.
Yeah, and it's just like motherfucker didn't even like say this stuff until like movie 3. Like what the hell? Like bitch didn't become in his vernacular until then. I'm sitting here like, where is this guy that I've been hearing? So it's funny seeing a series hit 3 movies in before it decides to find its identity. The first one obviously has its establishing who Freddy is, the parents and the lore and the things kind of going on with Nancy and oh my god, names are going to escape me. This is the one where it's like, oh man, all these
words
names. Words and things. Nancy, Tina, etc.
Glenn.
Johnny Depp.
That's
Johnny
Glenn.
Depp, yes.
That would be Glenn.
But I have to mention that it's Johnny Depp because he was young.
Okay.
And quick side note, did you know how Johnny Depp got cast in that?
Yes.
Casting couch?
Damn.
Oh, Wes Craven. His daughter, like Wes Craven was talking to his daughter about this movie and who, showing the pictures or talking. I think he was talking about the 2 actors that he was going to choose from. And she was saying, oh my God, Dad, that guy is beautiful. And based it on like that, basically. Well, that was part of it.
Yeah.
And he wasn't even that pretty back then.
Look, it was a different time.
That was a different time, a different place.
But, in that first movie, everything's just establishing. And Freddy, I feel like, is while there were elements of like sort of antics throughout, because obviously you have like the telephone thing and like the wide arms and like there was the sort of like Looney Tunes aspect to Freddy that was shown. It felt like it was a more menacing sort of character before, you know, getting all the way to 3 and 4, where suddenly it becomes zingers, one-liners, and just shenanigans. You know, it's still scary in its own right, but it definitely felt like they were like, hey, you know what? Let's give him a one-liner for every death, and then make him do a funny thing to match that. And obviously I glossed over 2 in this because 2 is the odd man out, where I thought it was still a good film, but very, very, very clearly suffered from, we don't know where we want to take this character and this story. It felt like, you know, again, they were finding their footing. They were still trying to experiment, you know, the fact that all of a sudden we have Freddy becoming a sort of possession being. It was like, hold on, time out. Where did possession come into play here? Like, I thought he was just killing children. Like, like, what are we doing? You know?
I thought he was just killing children.
You know, I thought he was pissed at all these fucking parents. And so like 2, again, it was fine in its own right, and especially for its own, like, you know, allegory for everything going on with, you know, the gay community and just, you know, that entire period. You know, gay panic. I was like, what the fuck is the phrase and shit? It was fine. I don't really have much to say for that one, aside from it was kind of just weird watching. Not necessarily that it reneged on anything that was established in 1. It was simply that it was a different character. Like, the Freddy of 2 was not the Freddy of 1. Freddy of 2 just felt off. But, you know, them finding their footing with 3, you know, and in 4, and him sort of just becoming this, like, you know, like I said, one-liners and fun deaths, and how do we go ahead and have fun with these special effects? It was like, okay, cool. I now see what the character has become. Robert does a fantastic job of giving personality, and more personality as each movie continues, which, you know, kind of brings me into the idea, and we've actually talked about this before, Ashley, where, you know, like, what makes a good horror icon, and it is the ability to infuse a personality, an actor bringing themselves to it, you know, like, I don't care too much for, you know, like Jason, for instance. You know, granted, I haven't seen, like, you know, the entire series or anything, but just a dude in a hockey mask. You're not missing much. You know, it just seems like big dude in a hockey mask. That's it. Versus seeing stuff like Tony Todd as the Seaman, and seeing Robert Englund as Freddy, and being able to kind of bring themselves, their voices, their personality. It's like, that is an actor there. That is not somebody that you can just replace. That actor is the core of that character. But yeah, like, overall, I think my favorites. How would I rank this?
Very carefully.
That's always the question, for sure.
It is, because, like, the thing is, like, it's hard for me to rank them on the same list because they're just different in my mind. You know, like, 3 and 4 were absolutely fun to watch, and it was nice seeing more of an ensemble cast come together, and this sort of force, and also bringing more into the dreams, and just also kind of bringing back movie 1 with Nancy and everything. You know, it felt like it was like, hey, let's tie this world a little more together that we've created here. 1 is just a great establishing movie. You know, most of these movies are great establishing, like, hey, here's the guy that you all are going to know and love for the next, like, 2-3 decades. 2, I'll just give it a 6 out of 10. I'll put that in my objective list. Like, okay, that's there. But yeah, no, it was great. The CGI, or not CGI, but like the special effects that they did. You know, like, there are so many. Like, it shines in that area. Like, it is absolutely phenomenal, the things that they were able to pull off in the time period, and just how gruesome, fun, ridiculous they were. You know, whether like I remember it was back in even just in movie 1 with The Wall, as what was it? Is it Nancy? As she's sleeping, and then like he pokes through, and then he comes back in, and then she wakes up and is just like, hello? Knock, knock, knock. Nope, that's solid. It's like, that is fun. That is like, somebody thought about like, what is, like, you know, it's kind of like a magician where they like show you a trick, but then they like, here, you could look at the deck of cards. Like her knocking on that thing, it was just like, oh, this is fun. Like, y'all, like this, I like this a lot.
So with that in mind, what was your favorite kill?
Oh man, what was my favorite kill? Shoot.
And one, it was the bloodbed for me with Glenn when he's listening to his music and he's sucked into the bed and then just blood starts shooting out.
So brutal, man.
Could you imagine a place that's supposed to be your safe space? Your bed is your blood bath.
Gosh, it was just ridiculous. I think I kind of have to agree with you in terms of like that placing absolutely up there. But it's also like it's hard for me to rank because it just becomes sillier. You know, like it's a different feel altogether. Like with the first movie, it was like, no, this is a brutal killer and it is gruesome and gory. And then in the third one, it was just like, you know, I'm going to turn into this Beetlejuice type snake and wrangle you across the beach and then throw you into a boiler, or let's put you in the waterbed and just have you drown under, you know, it was like there was a lot of fun things in there.
Yeah, I don't know. Dream Warriors, there were aspects of that there was one death that to me was is hokey as some of the deaths got, right? Like the wizard
Right,
death.
right.
And like it just as hokey as some of them could be, one that was really fucked up that I'm kind of glad they gave a little comedic line after that was the addict. With Taryn, she is an addict. She's fighting like the one staff member who's trying to sleep with her and sneak her drugs, right? And she's trying to stay clean. Her biggest fear is falling off the wagon. She's trying to stay clean. And what does Freddy do? He picks up his hands and they are all syringes of drugs. And he injects her with them. That is awful on so many levels, right? Yeah. Because she's been trying this entire film to stay clean and she's feeling proud of herself for staying clean. And then here he comes with 10, not just one, but 10 syringes filled with drugs and injects her. And she's screaming. And it's like, oh my God, like thinking about that is awful.
Yeah. No, like that one is the most, I think like awful realistic kind of idea. Like it kind of reminds me of Saw or Saw 2 with the getting shoved into the needle pit. I think it was Saw 2. You know, it's just like, and the fact, like you said, she's an addict and it's fighting all this, and it's like, oh geez, like that sucks.
Well, think about even past that. When they find her, what are they going to find? That she overdosed. Right. She died from an overdose. And it's like, fuck you, Freddy. That's so mean.
No, you reminded me. The death I remember I also had a visceral reaction to was the puppet string muscle fibers.
Yeah.
That was just, oh Jesus, man. Like this kid is just being strung along like the puppet marionette that he is. And then, you know, of course we get in, you know, Freddy fashion, we get a zinger. I probably wrote the zinger too. But yeah, it was just like, you know, some things affect you more than others, or for me. And just seeing that, I was like, oh God, like, you know, this mutilation.
I mean, that's body horror before it was body horror.
Yeah.
That's my favorite kill, like of all of them, just because it's, you know, it's just seeing that being pulled out, like you're being pulled out of your bed by your guts.
Yeah.
And then dragged to the roof and then just tossed off. And then the music, like the do do do. It's like a heartbeat, but it's, you know, it's just that Oof, I don't know. It's intense. It was for me as a kid.
Yeah.
It's always stuck with me.
For me as a 32-year-old man.
Well, and for anybody who is a vivid dreamer, who has constant nightmares, who has sleep paralysis, Dream Warriors hits fucking home. It hits in a way that you wouldn't think would. And it's terrifying. I don't think any of us believe in Freddy Krueger, but this idea that there is a monster who is able to hunt you in your sleep when you are paralyzed and vulnerable, we know what that state feels like. So it's just like, oh, well, that one got me, and that's why it's always going to be my favorite.
I will say one of the funnier, but like obviously they're all fucked up. But the wheelchair kid, or no, not wheelchair, no, the mute kid, Joey.
Oh yes, Joey, when he screams.
Yeah, no, the fact that the nurse was just like, I can get in a lot of trouble for this, but I know you won't say anything, and I'm like, how dare you? And then yeah, like you said, feeling tongue tied. It's like, oh, what a dick. Oh man, that was so like that one. I got like a chuckle. I was like, okay, yeah, no, this is a funny one. It's fucked up, but it's funny.
But also Nancy, you get Nancy back, and you bring it all back to the first one, right?
Yeah, but I don't love that this is the one where they chose to get rid of Nancy.
I don't like that they got rid of her either, but I'm glad that they brought her back.
For sure. I just feel like it wasn't necessary. Sometimes it's necessary to get rid of the original character, but in this instance, I'm like, she didn't necessarily need to sacrifice herself. Like, she killed herself with Freddy's glove, pretty much.
What bothers me is if I would have been okay with it if they could have gotten Patricia Arquette back for her role in the next movie, because that's what failed for me in the fourth one. Is like they recast her, and it's like, damn it,
recasting
Arquette's good.
Never works.
No, yeah. Patricia's just amazing on her own, and she was really good in 3. If anybody's going to pass the torch, like that would have been great, but they didn't do it.
Oh my gosh. And just even when she's holding Nancy and she's crying and she's kissing her in that moment for a film that's mostly comedic, right? And going off of these one-liners, that was actually a highly emotional part. And she's just like rocking her and crying and like caressing her hair and kissing her. And it's like, oh my gosh, like that would be the perfect passing of the torch in that moment visually. And then to not bring her back, I'm like, you son of a bitches.
Yeah, it was great. I loved the 4. I didn't know going into it that, this is like the weird disconnect that I've had for a long time, and I just never decided to look it up. But I thought Freddy was a child predator before actually watching these movies, and it always boggled my mind, like, why is he such an icon? Like, this guy, like, what kind of world and society do we live in right now? But then when it's like the caveat of like, no, he's a child killer, that's what he is. It's like, oh, okay, cool.
That's because the new one, the remake, made him a child predator. And in all fairness, when Wes was writing it, he was going back and forth. He has spoken on this in interviews, going back and forth on if he was a child predator or a child killer. But in California, during the time that it was being made, there were cases of, like, high cases of children being assaulted. So he did not want to exploit that. He didn't want to exploit that, so he decided not to go that route with Freddy. Freddy was just a killer of children because he was seeking vengeance for what the adults did to him. So for a moment, he wasn't sure if he was going to make it that way, but realistically, what the direction he went with is Freddy is not a child predator in that way. Now, they tried to bring it back in the remake, but for me, it's like, that's not who Freddy was. And that's out of Wes's mouth. That's not who he decided to go with when he finally landed on, this is my Freddy. This is what he does. This is who he is. So, hashtag not my Freddy.
I haven't watched it. I still haven't watched it. The remake.
I won't. I won't.
Yeah.
I won't
Oh.
support that.
Oh, interesting.
I will not support that because, to your point, why would I support a character that's doing that? And like, especially because that's not who he was.
Right.
I do love that he wanted to create an icon. He wanted to, not an icon, but he wanted to create an archetype that wasn't behind a mask.
Right.
So for him, he's like, I want my character to have a mask of sorts, but not a mask you can't see who's behind there. I want it to be a face. I want that person to have personality and expression. And we got Robert. And he's like, I still wanted him to have like a mask in a sense. So that's where we get the burns and the scars, and he's a monster.
Right.
But he still is Robert Englund. He's still Freddy. And so he created that icon. And I do love that he looked at what was iconic then. Jason, Michael, stuff like that. And he decided, this is what I'm not going to do. And not because he was dogging on it, but like, it's already being done. I don't need to do it again. And so for him, he's like, I'm not going to give him a knife because Michael and Jason already have big ass knives. He said, but I want him to have something. So what did he say? He told the prop master, you know, we could give him knives on a glove or something. And what do you got?
Knives on a glove.
Knives on a glove. And I love that, right? Because you still have the knives, you still have the sharp objects, you still have the slasher, if you will, but it's not slasher the way that it was being done. It's respect that that's already out there, but I'm going to try something a little different. And that different landed. Freddy's fucking iconic. I swear a lot.
I think I take the cake on. This is the most I've ever cursed on anything. Usually I try to keep a little more professional on that stuff. I'm like, yeah, I'm public facing right now. Like, I'll put a couple things here and there, but you know, it's like, I know. I'm a brand risk.
Brand risk. I've been a brand risk since day one.
What is horror without a little bit of a fuck you and oh shit and
I mean, come on. We've welcomed the primetime, bitch. Wasn't something I made up.
True.
So, and it's swear where it's appropriate.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think for me, Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy is Freddy because he's comedic, but he's still sadistic. He's still torturous. He's still a monster. He's just a funny monster. And we have to break it up, right? Like, we can't have all scary, all serious, all one note.
Right.
Creatures, monsters, icons. There has to be a variety. And he takes the cake on the comedic variety, the one that has whimsy but is still scary as fuck, who's going to rip out your veins and marionette you across a building until you plummet to your death, and then, you know, cat got your tongue, like, it just, or your tongue tied, it just, he's terrifying and he's funny, and there's nothing sexy or seductive about him.
Yeah.
I'm sure someone's going to disagree with that.
Of course, but you know, they're wrong. At me, I don't care.
At me with that shit.
Come at me, all right? What do you? You can't defend that.
I'm just saying, some people think I'm fucking crazy because I think Pinhead's hot. So it's the energy of Pinhead. It's not like I'm looking at this guy like, I'd nail him. See what I did there? I'm so.
I mean, because
funny.
you can't like put your head on his head, right? I don't know. That would be weird.
You're not fucking kissing him, that's for sure.
It'd be kind of difficult. You want to make out with Freddy though? Either like...
I give it the good old college try for Pinhead. Freddy, fuck that. We homies. We fist bump. Actually, no, he's got the. I'll fist bump the other hand.
Yeah.
These are dangerous friends here. That's what it just, you know, that's why I stick to El Hombre de Dulce.
I don't know that loophole works, but I'll give it a pass.
That's a good question. Does it count if you say it in other languages?
Surely not. Or no, sorry, surely it counts.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure he's not like sitting here trying to be like, oh, hold up. Like, he's not racist. Like, he wouldn't You know, like he's like,
He's
oh,
like,
I'm
I'm
never.
inclusive.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not gonna not go to Mexico. Like, nah, like say my name when I'm there.
He's like, in fact, could you please say my name? I need a vacation. Oh my gosh.
I wish we had that movie.
Oh man, we still can make that movie.
I mean, Jason's gone to space. Pinhead's gone to space. Why can't he go? Why can't Seaman go to Puerto Rico? I'm so glad that you watched all of these movies, and I was just happy to see, like, we're gonna get you on this journey and give it like a year, and you're gonna be an aficionado.
I'm gonna be the snob.
Yeah, no, you're not. I'll kick your ass. We are not snobs in this horror club.
Okay, noted.
We are the horror heroes.
Yes.
Horror heroes.
And me and Ashley were just talking about how we love to share with people who have never seen a horror movie before. Like, just that's like our favorite thing, to be able to talk to you about it, get that perspective, like, because it makes it new for us again,
Yeah.
which is pretty awesome.
It's fun to watch it through somebody else's eyes.
And it's fun getting to experience things. It's one of those things where, like, I feel like I missed out, not having grown up with it and whatnot. But there is something to be said about, being able to appreciate things that I would not have appreciated if I had seen it when I was younger.
Well, I'm so glad you are open to being on this journey and letting us be a part of it and come talk about it. And yay.
Thank you for having me. I thoroughly enjoy every time that I get to talk to y'all. It's always fun, and it's nice to be able to talk about these things. I don't have that many friends that exist in this realm of media. It's nice to be able to just talk and play. So thank you.
Hell yeah.
Whimsy.
Whimsy.
Oh, whimsy. Whimsy! Is that like Shimmer?
Is that the nickname?
Whimsy.
Nazeeh Whimsy.
Wicked whimsy.
Nazeeh Whimsy.
Well, this has been awesome. Nazeeh, thank you for coming on and just being your usual charismatic, amazing self and bringing fun insight to this topic that we love so much.
Like I said, thank you for having me. It really does, mean a lot that y'all can tolerate me enough to be like, yeah, sure, why not? Let's bring him on again.
We don't tolerate you. We love you. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
And thank you, everyone, for tuning in to this episode of 3Haunted Podcasts. With your hosts, I'm Ashley Lunar Goddess.
And I'm BJ Segura.
Do you have any questions, comments, or episode suggestions? Email us at 3hauntedpodcast@gmail.com. And if you haven't done so already, please like, follow, and subscribe to all of our social media. You don't want to miss amazing conversations like this one.
Also, don't forget to check out 3hauntedpodcast.com where you'll find all of our past and current season episodes, as well as guest information and all kinds of awesome merch.
Thank you for listening to Season 5. We'll see you in Season 6. Until next time.